call March 31st, 2016 meeting of Boston Town Council to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, announcements. I have an email from the Secretary of State's open meeting website indicating that this meeting was posted on March 29th at 5:15 p.m. So we are in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. I also wanted to make note that this past week, Ginny Ross from Payne Road passed away. She was involved with the youth of this town for many years in the 4-H organization, and Canton Colts. I'd just like to ask for a moment of silence and remember, please. Okay, public comment, Mrs. Ryder?
Yes, I think everybody is aware how difficult it is to get any news of Foster in the newspaper, let alone television. But for the third time this year, I've had friends calling me, asking me what's going on. And it all relates back to the Stonehouse Motel. For the third time, we have had, well, once it was a bank robber living there, a drug bust, heroin bust there. This recent one that was in the paper yesterday, that was about someone living there and he had weapons and was dealing heroin. And that's only in the past year. Now, children are dropped off there from the school bus. There are kids living there. Our Human Services Department houses people there. I think we have a problem, and I hope that the council or someone will find a way to address it. I know it's difficult because Mr. Rogers on the town council is the owner of that property, and I don't believe he can just wash his hands of any responsibility.
If we could just make
Yeah, this seems to be clearly pointed in, I take exception to this.
So we're not going to mention anyone's names, but is there anything?
Too late. Anti-business.
Any further? Is there anything?
I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Is there anything further?
No, that is just that, and that is only this year, and we are trying
And those are
to
false
bring
facts also.
businesses into town to clean up Route 6.
Troublemaker.
And I do not think this is a very good it does not represent the town, because it's the only thing people hear about.
I just want to point out that she is flat out lying, and I believe the police chief can actually back up that as false statements. Don't stand there with that look on your face. It's lies.
What is?
But, whoa, I don't really, we're not gonna argue. Let me let the police chief respond.
Sure.
And again, this investigation, or this incident, because there was no investigation, it was the drug transaction was observed at a business being Star Petrol parking lot. It was a drug transaction that was observed. The vehicle was stopped on Danielson Pike. There was no investigation whatsoever at the Stonehouse. There was no
The confused look.
incident, other than the person living there temporarily. I don't know for sure exactly how long he's lived there.
3 weeks.
But there was no investigation whatsoever at the Stonehouse, other than the person living there. In reference to the weapons, they were knives. It was a ½ inch bigger, and again, it wasn't AK-47s or anything like that. It was a knife that was in his pocket that was illegal.
Is this the venue of this conversation?
Well, it was public comment. I recognized that someone that made a public comment, and I want to not allow the Rogers.
You have an owner sitting in the audience that would like to respond.
Yeah, I
If she'd
would like to respond.
I'll-
Okay, in a business such as a motel or a hotel, you can't do a BCI check on anybody who comes through the door. You don't know who's coming. Our people that manage it watch, especially after the heroin bust last year. They watch, we have people that have been there, one lady's been there for 13 years, we have another couple that's been there for 7 years. So they all start now, when we have new people that come in and that are gonna be there for longer than a couple of days, they watch to see if there's traffic going to the rooms, because we've seen this before and we don't want it there. But there's absolutely no way for us to know who comes to, Renee is nodding, right? What do? A BCI check, then we discriminate against somebody. So
Send them to
The
the
best-
for a background check.
the best thing that we can do is keep an eye on them, and if we see anything suspicious, then we can deal with it. This one, there was no drugs found in that room, there were no weapons found in that room. The previous one, those people had been there for 7 months. 7 months. Nobody noticed anything suspicious there until, yeah, whatever, Lynn, I'll read it after, I haven't seen it. One of our people that lived there for a long time saw a deal go down and contacted one of our police officers, but they were already investigating. So what I'm doing now is I'm installing surveillance cameras all the way around. So we can, is that funny, Lynn? Is that
Yeah,
funny?
really
You
is.
think heroin at motels is
All right,
funny?
all right.
Sorry, that's disgusting.
It's been,
My point
it's
is
been stated.
Yeah, your point is made,
Lynn.
Lynn.
She also has restraining orders on her from local businesses, Ms. Ryder does, but she didn't state that.
I have.
Excuse me, Mr., excuse me.
I'll let you respond to that comment.
Yes, I will. First of all,
There's an accusation made, I
That-
want someone to respond.
this is public comment. This is not coming from the council. That was a council person attacking a resident of this town. And if anyone wants to know anything about any so-called restraining orders or anything else, please visit the police chief and see how much credence any of that was put in. But if you think that I am going to allow a council member to attack me personally, I was attacking a business. That is a personal attack.
Right.
I just have one thing I want to announce. I don't know if people were aware that within the Foster Home Journal, there is from the Foster Engineering Board, a survey that they would like you to complete and mail out. That would be just my,
Is the envelope in or just?
the envelope and the survey is inside, so you can fill it out and return it. It's not stamped. You stamp it, and they did put their address on it, but it's only one page of questions. It's anonymous, yes, it's anonymous. They're looking for comments, they have several questions. But it's within the Foster Home Journal, it's stuffed in there. So I just thought I would bring that out.
I don't think I got that in my
I didn't notice it the first time around.
I know.
It's there.
Okay, moving on to warrants.
I make a motion that we accept payroll warrant number 36 in the amount of $29,317.24.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye, motion carries unanimously. Payroll warrant 37.
Make a motion that we accept payroll warrant number 37 in the amount of $29,836.33.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Payroll warrant number 38.
I make a motion that we accept payroll warrant number 38 in the amount of $30,943.77.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll be recusing myself from the general warrant.
That motion carries unanimously. General warrant number 16.
Make a motion that we accept general warrant number 16 in the amount of $84,574.71.
Discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ryder?
I just would like to know why Mr. Rogers refused
She can
himself.
get it at the town hall from the public request, you know.
I can answer the question.
You can take
His- His,
Can I answer it?
You may, sure, if you would like.
My mother worked the poll, she's getting $150 for the 12 or 14 hours she worked that day to help the town out. That's why I recused myself, Ms. Ryder, thank you very much.
All I asked was a
Okay,
question.
no, you haven't voted yet, so just no more conversation. You explained it, that's fine. Any further conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0, one recusal. Okay. Monthly reports.
I make a motion that we accept the following monthly reports for the month of February as presented. Building and Zoning Department, Department of Public Works, Finance Department, Human Services, Planning Department, Police Department, Rhode Island Resource Recovery, and Tax Assessors.
Is there a second? Discussion on any of the monthly reports?
Yes, I just
Okay.
wanted to point out a couple of things.
Okay,
Give me a moment to get to Human Resource. The Human Resource is going to be having, and I noticed it was also in the Gloucester Home Journal this month, they're having a funeral fundamentals workshop on April 12th at 1 o'clock at the community room at Hemlock Village. It's a workshop with Winfield and Sons Funeral Home. There'll be information, session is open to the community and will address funeral, pre-planning, financing, legalities, and making the decision between body burial versus cremation. I thought that was an interesting point to bring out for people. And then I have another one.
okay.
Under resource recovery, I noticed, hooray, hooray, that we have increased over, get there,
Over 30, almost 35%.
yes. If we, looking at, and I do like that it's colored now, for the refuse, we have, for the recycling, we have increased from last February to this February, 18 tons, and last January to this January, 7 tons in our recycling. So something's working. Keep it up, keep it up. That's all I have to say.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor of approving the reports as submitted?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Quarterly reports. We have
I make a motion that we accept the following quarterly reports for October 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015 for Recreation Committee and Conservation Commission.
Second.
discussion on the quarterly reports.
I do, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
It was noted, and I'm not sure, but I think we've discussed it before, but certainly it's worth repeating. There were enhancements to the Woody Loudon, that there are 4 pieces of outdoor exercise equipment that's been installed with the help of our DPWs, and that they're looking forward to in the spring promoting the new equipment. And it's rather interesting. And they are also still looking for members for the committee.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Old business. We have just a very short letter from the DPW director, on the recreation field. Processing of the firewood has been initiated. The initial wood, the trees that came down on phase 1, being cut up into segments and delivered to the Human Services yard. Large lengths are being delivered to DPW yard for future processing. The stumps are being piled separately for third-party disposal. And Callamore has a volunteer that's going to stack the wood in the barn, the little barn beside Human Services. And Mark Tremblay's been contacted. We don't have any further information on him. He's working on what we said to do some last meeting, so.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes, sir.
may I address the recreation statement?
You may.
Historically, when I was on the recreation committee and the planning board, we constantly had conversations about centralizing locations for all things. And we do not have any money, so I am not at this time recommending we move the field. However, where the Woody Loudon is now would take the ambulance corps 10 to 15 minutes to get there and get back to the very spot of 94 and Route 6. If a kid had his rib go through his lung or busted his spleen, you could certainly be looking at pretty dangerous situation of bleeding, internal bleeding. So, although we don't have this money this time, I do want to make everybody aware that in the long run, we need to move that recreation field to that spot. Thank you.
Okay, so this doesn't require any action.
I just have,
Questions?
well,
Sure.
it does say discussion, so I just wanted to discuss one thing, and I'm not sure if it's in reference to this or not, but when I've been going down 94, a couple of times this week, I've noticed a white van with mass plates that has Forestry Department sticker on the side. And there have been two gentlemen walking around. I noticed them first at the recreation field, so I thought it was something to do with that. They've been going down 94, they have the orange vests on and everything. I was wondering if it is in regards to the recreation field, since that's where I've seen them a couple of times, or if it's in something else, and do we know what it's about?
I don't know what it's about.
Okay.
I've seen them today further down the 94.
94.
Actually, Northwood Mill Road, standing there, walking around there,
Yeah.
so.
I've seen them along the way, so I don't know. Maybe next month,
Chief
I'm
has
free to
some-
ask.
does
That's
Chief
what I'm gonna yell
have
at.
some insight?
I'm not sure if they're the exact people, but I know the state's doing surveys on the dangerous trees along our state roads, so.
So would it be okay if I stopped and said, hey, what are you doing?
Or call us and we can do that for you.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know. I saw them a couple of times at the recreation field and wanted to ask. Okay, thank you.
Okay. New business, additions and abatements.
Would you like a motion for each one individually?
I
Make it cleaner?
Well, you can do one for all four, but they're not totally added up, so you have to make them 4 different
Yes.
sentences.
I make a motion that we honor the request of the tax assessor for a real estate abatement, total abatements of $1,820.70, motor vehicle abatement for $60.71, for first appeal abatement, $783.97, and for Board of Tax Assessment Review in the amount of $1,163.12.
Second.
Discussion on any of these abatements? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye, motion carries unanimously. Breaking Ames Bicycle Run, scheduled for September 23rd, 2016. We have a request. What is the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion that we honor the request of Jessica Kurtz for logistics assistant for Breaking Aids, to allow them to ride through with consent of the chief for September 23rd, 2016.
Second.
Discussion?
They're coming out of Connecticut, it looks like, and going down through Worcester Valley up 102.
Yeah.
It looks like coming out of Connecticut, Route 14, so that would be through Coventry, cross into town and connect with 102 and out through Clayville.
Mhm. Nice map. Read it.
Google Earth.
Does,
Did you have a question?
No, I'm just clarifying.
Okay, any further discussion?
the chief knows about it.
Any reservations?
Now, I believe this is their third year, I believe it's their third year doing it. As it gets closer, we'll notify rescue and it's a ride, it's not a race, so they're divided by all laws.
Mrs. Ryder?
Is this originating in Foster?
No.
No, is this a new policy? Because I know, like the Narragansett Bay Wheelman, at least 4 or 5 times a year, they have rides that go through Foster. And I didn't know if it was a requirement now that the town be informed.
I don't think it's a formal requirement. I don't think we have policy, but a lot of folks do submit, and you just send it forward to us, so.
Okay.
But in the state roads, I'm not sure if we said no, that they couldn't come through anyway.
I would say not a requirement, but it would be a smart thing to do, because if something happens and they're on the block first, at least they can say we won the emergency personnel and we told people we're coming through.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, Mr. Rogers asked for this. This is resolution, Foster Gloucester Regional School Tax District. I'm going to let you introduce it, and then I just want to make a comment.
I had got an email from Gloucester asking me, as a fellow council member in a budding town, to ask to have this put on the council, which I did, and it's here if someone wants to read it, or, and then we can go from there, put it up or down, which is this.
I'll read if you like, but you
All right,
can read it.
you gonna read this side, or you can't, go ahead.
So I will read the one, we received one from Gloucester, that was passed in Gloucester, and crafted one about changing the town's name. Resolution of the Foster Town Council, subject proposing the creation of the Foster Gloucester Regional School Tax District. Whereas the Foster Gloucester Regional School District was established in 1958 with the intention of providing secondary education to 6th through 12th grade students in the towns of Foster and Gloucester. And whereas the financial support for the regional school district was to be the responsibility of the two-member towns in a manner that was affordable to its residents. And whereas in 2006, the Senate passed Senate Bill number 3050, which limits the amount a town can apply a levy of tax over its prior year assessment to no more than an increase of 4% per annum. This levy is to cover both municipal and school budget operational and capital expenses in a given fiscal year. And whereas this law puts an ever-increasing burden on towns to stay within their levy limit. And whereas the Foster Gloucester Regional School District has decided that although they are pass-through for funds from two-member towns, that the needs of the regional school district supersede the ability for the member towns to continue to provide necessary services such as public safety, public works, and general town administration. Now therefore be it resolved that the Foster Town Council, through its elected representative and senator in the Rhode Island General Assembly, hereby requests that legislation be drafted and considered by the entire body of both House and Senate, that the Foster Gloucester Regional School District become its own taxing district, not unlike similar districts in other states across the United States, for the purpose of raising, appropriating, and collecting taxes of their own for operating and capital expenses, subject to the laws of the state of Rhode Island, and the towns of Foster and Gloucester will no longer have an appropriation made for their municipal taxes for the purpose of funding the regional school district.
Okay, for the sake of discussion, I will make a motion that we accept this resolution as read.
Second.
Okay. Again, I got a message a while back from Gloucester asking this to be put on, so I obliged, and here's where we are. To me, there are pros and cons, and they were discussing with me, and they pretty much went over all the pros. But when I tried to discuss some of the cons, they kind of skirted it. So some of the pros are, well, there's probably more cons than pros. Some of the pros are, for example, I'll give you this budget workshop, which this budget season, I wouldn't have been able to do what we did if this was set aside and approved. You would have the Gloucester's budget coming out of our total. So two things it would affect. It would affect our capital transfer tremendously in an area of 80,000, which could be, and I think Gloucester's going to do the same thing, make an adjustment to that to make up for it moving forward. Another example, I've seen many years where the school has gone up nothing or very little, and yet when it comes to the town side, we go up the total 4%, which means our town on itself may go up 6 or 7 or 8% individually, but using up the money that was left on the table from the school is not going to the 4%. So this would eliminate that. It would hold this council or a town council to the true 4% of their operating budget, just like we explain to the region all the time and Payne School that and I have a disagreement with this, that they must keep within their 4%. Well, that stands true on both sides of the fence. I mean, if we sit here and tell the region or Payne School, don't come in front of us with a budget that's more than 4% because you're not allowed, but we in turn, when they leave money on the table, well exceed our 4% using up whatever was left on the table. So those are the pros that would hold the town itself in check on going over your actual 4%, which we are doing it this year. Because the region came in at like 1%, Payne's been reduced 1%, and we're going up 3.5% as a town-wide increase. So we're using a lot of money that's above and beyond. The problems, the cons are, it would increase and double duties for the region in duplicating services. For example, we send out tax bills, right now we send theirs out, everybody pays. If they don't pay, we are the ones that chase them and do the tax sales and everything else and keep track of that. They would have to hire additional personnel, administrative positions, and mail out bills to two towns and keep track and do their own tax sales and going after the people that they didn't pay. So there are pros and cons on both sides. So again, I didn't hear any cons from Gloucester when I was trying to discuss it with them when I responded back to the email, but I promised them that I would put it on the council for a vote up or down. And I'm torn, and I could go either way even at this point. So I'm looking for direction from my fellow council members on this one.
My opinion is that the cons outweigh the pros. It seems like it's an additional cost that's unnecessary. If the idea is to try and save taxpayers money, this doesn't do it. And it just doesn't seem, it seems like there are alternative ways. If you want to highlight how much of the taxes are due to the schools, we do, we break that out already on the bill. And even if we wanted to send out a separate bill to make it even clearer, the towns are still in a better position to do that than to require the school to do it.
Another thing I didn't forget to add, another big reason that they put forward for an excuse of wanting to move forward on this is they think it would be a great motivator to get people to go to their regional financial town meeting, which, as we all know, many times we get maybe 30 people from Forster and 70 people from Gloucester, but when they get the tax bill, they come back to the towns and start screaming at the individual towns for the tax increase, when sometimes when it is not the town's fault. But I've also seen it where the towns will play coy, and I'm not saying specifically denying it, but when the actual increase is on the town side, and it was last year for this town too, we don't deny, or when they say it's the school, it's all the school, yeah, they're 70% of the budget. I've heard people say that. But the tax increase wasn't part of that 70%, it's always 70%. So it opens people's eyes up to where the actual bill is at fault. Again, I'm torn either way. If there's no good answer on this one, supporting or not supporting it, it's both sides of the fence.
Well, I think the capital thing is a big issue.
Which could be fixed.
It could be, it's a big issue. The duplication is an issue.
Yes.
Mrs. Fosco, go ahead if you want to.
Yeah, listen, numbers of things, okay? The town of Gloucester has historically blamed the region for their tax increases. They have someplace between, depending on, just go through, 13 million in extra taxes that they've charged their taxpayers, blaming it on the region. The region have 5 years of zero.
This would eliminate that.
Okay, so their problems and our problems are completely different. Last year at the town financial meeting, I asked Mr. Lewis, how will the town run if the schools take all their money? You need Payne School zero, you need the region's 1% zero to properly run this community until you get new revenue sources. So this works against your best interest, voting for this. All right, and that's on top of the duplication of services. If you say you can fix the capital problem, if you move it outside, you still, this year, I told Kelly 6 to 8 months ago, you couldn't move 4%. Finally, the last 2 meetings ago, she said we can't move 4%. So you need the schools within your budget to properly run this community at this time. This is the worst thing possible to do for the town of Foster, to vote for this resolution. What Gloucester does, completely different than what we do here. And there were 74 people from Foster and 260 from Gloucester. So the meeting was well attended, all right? What they're trying to do is cover themselves and then come into the region and defeat it in a different way. So your regional schools, I've told you before, be very proud of your regional schools.
I spoke with Kelly yesterday, and I felt one way. I spoke to someone on the town council in Gloucester today, and I feel another way. So I'm like Gordon, I'm on the fence, I could go either way. It was pointed out to me from the town council member I spoke to from Gloucester, that one of the main reasons is they wanted to get out there what the taxes are, that here's what is going to the regional school. They also get, as we do, many times after the regional financial meeting has been held, people are complaining about it, but they didn't show up. So they're hoping to build up people knowing about it and people attending. The discussion, I brought up the fact that, well, isn't it going to be more man hours as far as getting out those tax bills? How does that's going to cost us money. It was felt that there would be enough people in the school department that would be able to do this. So that's the information I was given.
Mr. Lewis, what they really want is that they've said they're willing to do it for us for a salary, a private. They're willing to do it for the region if we pay them. Okay, we don't have that statement that we have people, excess people. We have people working multiple hours. We're one, all right, so their reasoning is completely erroneous to the truth.
Could you do me a favor? She
Yes.
wasn't finished.
I'm sorry,
speaking,
I'm
so
sorry.
you can cut
But
her off.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes some statements are made and, you know,
Okay,
I understand she's passing on information, but
okay, go ahead.
Now, when I spoke to Kelly, and initially when I got this information, I felt like we would lose control. And we don't have a lot of control already, as we know, nothing against Gloucester,
yeah.
but that there's more of them than there are of us. So there is control there and we lose it. It was also pointed out to me, not by Gloucester, but that if you have your own tax bill, the regional does not have to come and present to us as they do to the council members for our approval. My thought is also, it's kind of said and done when it's brought here. We really can't say, we think it needs to be reduced by, or I'm not sure that we could say, or would say, it needs to be reduced. So I'm on the fence. I wanted to hear tonight what conversations was going to happen to sway me one way or the other.
See, I think that perspective seems to indicate that somehow the schools aren't a part of the towns, or that the financial decisions being made with respect to the schools shouldn't have a bearing on the financial decisions being made for the town. And I think that is sort of dangerous. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the people in the town that pay for it, regardless of the fact that the school goes up. I think it's only responsible that we take that into account when forming our budget for the other parts of the town.
But again, that's part of the motivation from Gloucester, to motivate people to get them to that financial town meeting so they can see and be part of the community.
And maybe,
There's an argument on both sides of everything of this.
I mean,
what
I'm not
Mr.
sure.
Stevens brought out is we, as a town, send out 2 tax bills. Here's what it is for the regional, here's what it is for the town, just so people can see black and white. Because I know it says right there, you know, so much of it goes to the schools, but it doesn't say what goes to the region and what goes to Payne School.
right.
So maybe doing that, I don't know what that would entail, But maybe that's something to look into.
It would double the cost of printing and postage.
And you can still only get one check.
I don't think that's that much.
Yeah.
Mrs. Ryder?
Well, but just, I do have something else, but just that, you could put both bills in one envelope.
Right.
Okay, and then people would have to add up, you know, what they are. But anyway, my original thought was several years ago, when the state pulled the rug out from under the towns because of the car tax, and they allowed the cities and towns to decrease their appropriations to schools by 5%. The region said they were exempt because they were their own taxing authority. And that council ended up giving them back the $165,000, whatever it was. You can't have it both ways. Are they their own taxing authority and not part of the town, so that you know, I'm sorry, you can't cut us. The state said you could cut schools, but not us. Or are they part of the town? I just think that needs to be clarified. They can't have it both ways.
I think that they're not their own taxing authority, but they are their own sort of municipal corporation without, so they are separate from the town under their own charter, but they don't have the authority to tax. We pay them, that's in their charter.
Right, but they just said no.
I think they would reduce 5%.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes, sir.
Just one point of clarification. My understanding of the situation Ms. Ryder is referencing is there was actually a vote at the regional financial town meeting to set the budget, and then subsequently the budget was reduced. So the claim wasn't that the region was a taxing authority. The claim was that a vote had already been made by a duly congregated residents of both communities.
Before they knew they could reduce it by 5%.
Yeah, the state came.
Right, because it happened,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The cart was before the horse.
the state took too long to pass
Yes,
their budget.
yes.
Well, there are some pros, there are some cons. I wouldn't be able to support this evening for two reasons. I would like to hear a specific recommendation from our treasurer before I were to consider myself able to support anything like this. And I don't have that. I've had casual conversations, but in the budget season, she hasn't really had the time to go back and crunch the numbers and see exactly what's the impact financially. So I couldn't support it until such time as I saw that. And the second major reservation that I have, it's something that you alluded to, Mr. Franco, and that's that the regional school district is composed in the majority by members from Boston. And if we were to relinquish to them the taxing authority for this town, we would effectively be putting people who are elected in Gloucester in control of being able to put houses in our town up for tax sale, because they have 6 members on their school committee, 2 out of 3.
So do you think somebody's going to pay their town taxes and not pay their school taxes? I would think somebody's not going to do both.
They're confused by the two bills.
But maybe they're confused. Who takes priority? Who puts it up for tax sale first? I don't know. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about.
There's laws on tax laws.
I can tell you one other thing when you're done that I think that is not being said here that I know, and the chief probably hears it too, through my prosecution work. The Gloucester police are upset that they have to spend their time and effort. Gloucester doesn't, on doing policing at the schools and the fire departments, especially the middle school. So I don't know if they're trying to change the burden a little bit financially for that, because I know we had today, yesterday there was 4 or 5 or 6 kids that were caught in the school. When there's marijuana in the school, or whatever happens there, the Gloucester police have to do the arrest, do the investigations, do the report, do the prosecution. And I know that the Gloucester police feel that it's unfair, that they have the burden.
There are more
But
than
just
there
that.
are.
They feel it's unfair, that it's on their department, and I'm sure the fire department probably feels a little bit like they have more responsibility for it. And I don't know if that has something to do with why this is.
We're on the run card at the alarm is out there, Foster goes. We don't do the maintenance of the fire alarm, but every time the alarm is pulled or
For
goes
both
over.
the middle school?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know the police don't have that, so I know just by virtue of things I see in here, that could be a little bit too of what's going on here. They feel it's uneven, the public safety. And I'm interested as an attorney, reading this line in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph. To me, it looks like if this goes through, they intend to have their own public safety,
Well, I
public
was
works, and
wondering that
town
too.
administration as part of the, I don't know, part of the conglomerate school district? I mean, are they gonna have their own Department of Public Safety? That's what it sounds like to me if I was reading it and not knowing anything else.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's saying that the regional school district, well, again, this wording comes from Boston. The regional school district in their mind has determined that they take precedence over the town's ability to provide public safety, public works.
And what does that mean?
I don't see
Seriously,
that.
reading it and knowing what I know, I'm thinking, what does that mean? Are they gonna then turn around and say, we need our own public safety people? We need our own ability? I mean, it's not a college campus, but
Well, it's,
so I would think about that.
it's certainly not a perfect relationship as it stands, but as I said, I don't think I could support this tonight. I think it doesn't quite get to the crux of the matter and what some of the issues are, so.
Mr. Lewis, you want to comment?
Actually, I saw Ms. Swanson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I'll recognize her first, and then I can come back to you.
Thank you. So I was just going to say that what this feels like is a sort of a movement toward inciting people to go out and vote, not based on facts necessarily, but on emotions, getting people riled up. I'm not saying you're all doing this, but on the other end, it sort of feels like that. And you know, the main thing is we're all trying to reduce taxes, right? So this has increased costs written all over it. You know, everything you talked about that would have to happen would then be on the school side. And it's all the same people paying these taxes. They're not different. And to talk about the Gloucester point also, Gloucester doesn't want their taxes to go up either. So even though you're saying there's 6 of them and 3 of us, the people living in Gloucester don't care less about their tax increases than we do. I mean, this goes back to regionalization even. We're moving farther away from regionalization doing this. And if we're really trying to save money, you know, we've talked about that a bunch of times, we would move toward regionalization. And so my opinion is it's just increase costs and takes money away from education and increases taxes.
May I respond to one thing that was said? I find exception to saying that we're trying to rile people up.
Not this side, I've heard directly from people on the other
You
side
did
that.
mention that we were riling. I'm not
I said,
looking
can
to
I
rile
just, I said
people
not
up.
necessarily anyone here, it really was not to do with this Foster Town Council.
I'm not looking to rile anyone up. I am looking to get more than 23 people at a financial meeting when, you know, I am looking at that. How best to do that, I'm not sure. Is this one way? Possibly.
Mr. Lewis?
Do you want the motion withdrawn or do you want to just table it to?
Well, I mean, that's up to the people that made the motion. If I have to vote on it this evening, the motion made and seconded, if I have to vote on it, my vote will be a no.
Yeah, I would also vote against this tonight, but I do think that the idea of continuing it just so that we're not sending the signal to Gloucester that we're rejecting any change whatsoever, and to open the dialogue, I think, to some alternatives would be more productive.
Would it be appropriate to not only have Kelly here, but for, like, I spoke to someone from the Gloucester Council,
Have them, yeah.
invite them here, or the other council members speak to somebody to get their point of view?
It sounds like it doesn't have votes to pass or fail. So either
Right.
way, I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna be still hanging out there, because, again, I'm still torn.
I am.
So if
I
I
am
see 2
torn.
no's, I'm actually probably gonna vote yes, just so it doesn't pass or fail, because there's 2 ways of going at it.
I think we need more information.
Mr. Lewis, a point of history.
Go ahead.
When the middle school was built, there was discussion that the middle school should have been built in Foster. It was decided to be built in Gloucester. Okay, it could have been built in Foster. There would have been proper separation or proper payment by both police and fire. Every event we hold, we pay a fireman to be there. We pay the Gloucester Police to be there. Oh, so there are complaints about they're doing extra work. they're getting paid for a lot of it. And they specifically wanted these schools in their town. So with that placement of schools comes the responsibility of policing, fire, and doing major highway work. So,
I agree, they did want it in Gloucester.
and that was a long, long historical discussion.
So back to the discussion at hand.
I'm willing to withdraw my second.
And I believe I made the motion, and I will withdraw my motion, and if you would like, I will, either you or me, doesn't matter, will contact somebody from Gloucester and ask them to show up.
I almost invited someone tonight. but
Yeah,
I didn't-
I was wondering if they would.
I didn't know if you.
What I would request is, right now Kelly's in the middle of the budget process and preparing for the financial town meeting, and she's not gonna be able to digest this until after the financial town meeting. So it seems to me if we postpone it until after that, so she has a chance to look at it and give us a reasonable recommendation.
And that'll probably put it into next year's
Right.
legislative.
I don't think it's urgent, and I
No.
don't think it's
No.
going in front of the State House one way or the other this year.
So,
No.
beginning of June, at a June meeting?
At Kelly's convenience, June meeting is fine. May meeting is fine if that works for her.
Okay.
July meeting is fine.
I can check with Kelly, and then if you'd like, I can invite someone from the council,
Sounds
if
good.
that's
Yeah,
appropriate.
because they can, yeah,
Okay, I can do that.
they can have as many, I believe, as 3, because they have a 7-member council, I think.
5.
Yeah, 5, so it's 2.
So does that conclude this discussion this evening?
I believe so.
Yep.
There will be no action taken on this evening. We'll just list it as a future agenda item.
I have only a quick question, Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
I was actually maybe to try to get the feeling, how the feeling is in Gloucester about this, and how they think about this.
They passed it.
That
Fantastic.
They passed it. The Gloucester Town Council passed.
And
this
they asked
resolution.
us to bring it
Yeah.
in for passage for us, so it's part of the process.
Okay. Anything further? Yes?
We should say, maybe we'll try to think about how much it might add to the school budget, just to think, as part of the conversation. If we thought we had to have increased costs there, we could bring that forward
I
also.
think that would be important. Okay, very good. The next, appointments to the Board of Canvassers. So we have 2 individuals on the Board of Canvassers whose term runs through March, so today will be the last day. Mr. DiPaolo, who's a full member and has requested reappointment. And we have a letter from Bruce Campbell, Chair of the Republican Town Committee, recommending him for reappointment as well. What is the pleasure of the council?
Can I make that one?
I don't see
Is
why
it
not.
appropriate? Okay. Well, then
Unless
I
he's
will-
your husband.
No, he's not.
No?
Not that I know I've been called Mrs. Whitelaw, but I have not been called Mrs. DiPaolo.
Could happen.
It could, it could.
It could happen.
I would like to make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Robert DiPaolo as a Republican full member of the Board of Canvassers and Ms. Carolyn Catula as an alternate member.
Second that motion.
Okay. So I had addressed them,
Separately.
just Mr. DiPaolo, but this is okay, I'll just, for the audience. Carolyn Catula, her term is also up in March. She's asked to be reappointed, and she's been recommended for reappointment by Mr. Campbell from the Republican Town Committee as well. These are both Republican seats there for this appointment. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Appointment to the Conservation Commission, we have am I in the right place? What is this?
Yes.
Yep.
Down the back side.
Well, I would-
Okay, we have an email from a gentleman, Dennis Therian, who's requesting to be appointed to the Conservation Commission, and a recommendation from Brendan Mara, who is a member of the Conservation Commission, to appoint him. What is the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion that we appoint Mr. Dennis Therian to the Conservation Commission. Is it a 4-year? No, I'm not sure what the term is
I'm not sure,
for
for the appropriate.
the appropriate term, at the recommendation of Mr. Brendan Ross.
For a second,
Second.
discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Is Mr. Therrien here this evening?
Yes, I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, volunteer.
Would we be able to swear him in this evening? Mr. Therrien, if you would come to the front, we'll have you sworn in by Sprague, the deputy town clerk, and you'll be an official member.
We'll shake your hand when you're done.
Raise your hand. Do you, Dennis Therrien, solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto the town of Foster and support the town charter, and that you will be true and faithful unto this state and support the laws and constitution thereof, and the Constitution of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the position of Conservation Commission member for the term for which you have been elected or appointed, or until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom. So help you God.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No chance to change your mind.
That's okay.
You want to take a short break, Rick? At council members' request, we're going to take a very short break before we enter into the public hearing on the budget. There are budgets up here for the audience, if you would like to grab a copy, and we will reconvene approximately 5 minutes.